I spoke with Allan Friedman, visiting scholar at the Cybersecurity Policy Research Institute at George Washington University. He's also the author of Cybersecurity and Cyberwar, What Everyone Needs to Know. I asked him who's responsible for fixing the heartbleed flaw.
When we say responsible, what do we mean? So software, you have the person who uses the software. Are they responsible? Is the person who wrote the software responsible? Is the person who found the vulnerability and told everyone, are they responsible? And the answer is, of course, all of them are to some extent or another. As we build policy, we need to think about how do the incentives line up so that we have the best possible outcome and the most secure software.
Is heartbleed a global problem? Does it affect every single country the same way it affects the countries you're looking at?
You know,
or is it different for different countries?
It's going to be a little different for different countries. It depends, one, of course, the countries that are more wired are affected more. Also, there have been countries that have really been pushing for their own cryptographic standards. India has tried to say, let's have a domestic cryptographic standard. Of course, China has been a leader in pushing for Chinese cryptographic standards. People have speculated that could be for national security reasons. They say it's also for reasons of economic competitiveness, that if China produces their own software, they won't have to rely on other countries. And now, of course, we see that they came out a little bit better because of this.
There's an Internet Governance Conference coming up in Brazil. Tell us what that's about and what the outcome might be with respect to heartbleed.
The bigger question is who is going to run the internet? Everyone is trying to sort of draw attention to that question. The challenge is no one really knows what it means to run the internet. So what's going on at the Net Mundial conference in Brazil next week is going to be further discussions about process. The challenge is, it's one thing to say, well, we need a multi-stakeholder process. One side, when they say multi-stakeholder, they mean businesses and governments and civil groups. And of course, another group says, when we say multi-stakeholder, we really just mean the UN. We mean every country gets one voice and we vote on things.
Okay, so I see a number of problems already with that because every country is going to have different standards. Every country is going to have different budgets to how they're going to fix it. How do you rectify that?
I think we have to look at outcomes. What does a world look like where we have better response and more secure software? That ultimately has to come from the private sector. That's who's developing the software, that's who's buying the software. The role of governments and international organizations is to figure out what is the efficient way to coordinate these processes, coordinate responses to incidents when they happen, and provide the incentives for better software development, and most importantly, better software acquisition.
China, their role in all this, the impact on China, should they be worried about and what should they do about it?
So with respect to the internet governance question, this is very interesting because China, of course, has really pushed for bringing the role of each country up, saying every country has the right to determine what the internet looks like in their border for their citizens. What's interesting is they've shied away from more active conversation in some of the more recent discussions. There are a couple of reasons for that. One, they don't have to. They've seen the anger at the U.S. primarily based on some of the NSA revelations. People say the U.S. can't be trusted, so they don't need to engage. But more importantly, China internationally is at its strongest in one-on-one negotiations. What is the relationship we have with every country? How do we manage that? They tend not to play in these large international discussions, which is what we're seeing now.
Okay. Back to heartbleed in terms of what we have to worry about now going into the future. It sounds like companies have taken steps, government has taken steps. Have people taken the steps to protect themselves? Do we still need to change our passwords? I mean, what more can we do?
We need to change our passwords. I hope all of everyone watching today knows which companies were affected. There are a number of lists online that say, listen, if you have an account with Yahoo or Tumblr, you need to go and change that password now. Of course, it's always important, I have to say, that your personal email password must be different from every other password you use. But more broadly, what we're going to look at is this gives us a chance to observe as scholars to say, what about the small websites? Are they playing catch up? Is the market working, or do we need more action by government or international bodies? And this gives us, anytime you have an event like this, it gives us a chance to observe.
That was Allan Friedman from the Cybersecurity Policy Research Institute from George Washington University.